That means that as we look at the current budget, we're going to have to cut over $700 million over the course of the next 18 months. And that's just to make the budget balance.
That's your governor, Eric Greitens. Kurt Erickson, Post-Dispatch reporter. Good morning, Kurt Erickson.
Good morning. How are you?
We're good. Thanks for checking in. Blaming the slowdown in business when the economy's booming and unemployment rate is at really record lows, and Obamacare, which Missouri has nothing to do with, is sort of a misnomer, is it not?
It is. The slowdown in revenue that he's talking about is from Republicans, his own party, cutting back on corporate taxes. They did it a couple years ago, and at the time they didn't realize, or didn't at least say, that it would be quite a bit more in reduced revenue than anyone predicted. So that's a factor. And then, the Obamacare issue is not sure what he's getting at there. It's popular to blame Obamacare if you're a Republican. But it all sort of foreshadows possibly more cuts to Medicaid, the health insurance program that helps poor people pay for health care.
Kurt Erickson, Governor Nixon cut some $200 million. Here's $146. He said in that clip up to $700 million. That's close to $1 billion. How did they get it so wrong?
Well, he's about $100 million more dollars, talking about $100 million more dollars in cuts than what the Republicans in the legislature had said just a few days ago. They had, the way I added up, it's about $600 million in cuts. Somehow he's got another $100 million in there, so I'm not sure where it's going. But like you said, the economy is booming, so income tax revenue, the stuff that we pay, the regular Joes and Janes, that's going, fairly well. It's, I think, up 3% last month. Not huge, but it's steady. And so it's this corporate tax issue that's drained about $150 million from what they predicted. He's got a little bit more money in there that he's saying needs to be cut.
They're also talking about him doing this later in the calendar, which is somewhat even raised some eyebrows with Republicans. What's his idea waiting longer for these cuts?
I think he's talking about tonight. He's talking about his policy goals. He's giving his budget people more time to prepare I don't know if you want to call it a doomsday budget. It's not unprecedented that a governor would separate the two speeches. It's happened before with a new governor coming in. So the Democrats say it's, obviously we've elected an inexperienced governor, so we have to delay to figure out how to run state government.
Yeah.
It
depends on who you listen to. So going forward, there's really no appetite for raising any tax of any kind. So this $700 million, there are not a lot of places they can go after $700 million. So it's probably going to be schools and some type of Medicaid cuts, right?
Well, he laid down the gauntlet yesterday, saying that he's not going to cut K through 12 education. He did make some cuts to school transportation, $8 million to school busing assistance from the state, which that does affect school students. But he says he's not going to cut schools, so that leaves things like universities, which he really took a big chunk out of $83 million yesterday. So he looks at universities, he cuts money there. That's a somewhat of a tax increase on the other end for, if you want to call it that, for parents paying higher tuition rates.
Right.
That's the outcome of that. And then they've also talked about cutting tax credit programs. He's called it welfare for millionaires. So there's money to be possibly cut there. But that there's going to be a fight over that, and then of course there's Medicaid, which they tried to reduce as much as possible. And Amtrak, there's a subsidy the state pays for Amtrak to run its trains between St. Louis and Kansas City. So there's a little bit of money there.
Right. So, but the point is, though, there's a lot of mandated stuff that is already predetermined in the budget. So there's not a lot of discretionary spending. So 600, 700 million, that's going to hurt somebody somewhere down the road.
Yeah, it's an effect of, it's almost, well, not impossible, but they'd have to really make a case to raise taxes because in Missouri, you've got to go to the voters if you want to make a significant tax increase.
Right.
So they're working with a finite amount of money here.
Right, and I mean, with the overwhelming majority of Republicans in the House and the Senate, a veto-proof majority, and a newly minted Republican governor, I'll bet you $1 they're not going to raise taxes. So we'll see what happens.
Right, at least. Yeah, you could go higher on that and still win.
All right, fair enough. Kurt Erickson, St. Louis Post-Dispatch reporter. Thanks for the insight, Kurt. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You got it. 7:25. We'll do numbers. We'll do that next. Big 550 KTRS.